Okay, so I just did this whole series where I talked about every Led Zeppelin album in chronological order. And now I want to give you my overall thoughts on Jimmy Page, who is easily one of the greatest guitarists of all time, but who some might say used that power for evil, not for good. It all started for little James when he was just 8 years old, and he found an abandoned guitar behind the new house that he moved into with his family in Epsom, Surrey, a town just south of London. He was a big fan of Elvis and a British folk singer named Lonnie Donegan, and he thought, what the hell, I could probably do that too. Graduated and hung around London, getting into the growing blues scene. This is where he met friends like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck, and he had front row seats to the explosion of popularity of British rock music following the debut of the Beatles in the US. Within a year, all of a sudden there was this huge demand for session musicians. Jimmy quickly became one of the top session musicians in England, played with everybody from the Kinks to Donovan to the Who. In 1967, when Eric Clapton dropped out of the Yardbirds, Jimmy Page stepped in and he got to play alongside Jeff Beck. But let's be real, the Yardbirds were done when Eric left. Soon, Jimmy Page found himself in a contract with a set of tour dates to fulfill and no band to do it with. So he decided to get some friends together. Some of the other people that he knew in the session circuit. He got John Bonham, he got John Paul Jones, and after some tough choices, Robert Plant became the singer. He said later that he was absolutely trying to do something that was going to change music forever. The new Yardbirds, or Led Zeppelin, were born. That's the background. Now let's get into the controversial stuff. First of all, one thing that I didn't really get into in the series is the number of plagiarism charges that Led Zeppelin faced throughout their career. Jimmy just boldly took whatever melodies, riffs he felt like. I'm talking Dazed and Confused, Babe I'm Gonna Leave You, obviously When the Levee Breaks. Now, there is something to be said about the blues tradition of artists covering and reworking other people's songs. Sure. But that's not what Jimmy Page was doing. In 1969, Jimmy Page became obsessed with learning about the occult. He got into the teachings of Aleister Crowley, who people referred to as the wickedest man in the world. He was often questioned about worshipping the devil, and he's always frighteningly vague in his responses. The next one is vile. I'm talking about Jimmy Page's unhinged, illegal relationship with a groupie that he started seeing when he was 28 years old and she was 14. They dated for over a year until he moved on to another very famous, little bit more legal groupie named B.B. Buell. Anyways, Jimmy Page also became addicted to heroin in 1975. His abilities as a producer started to decline. And on top of all that, when Robert Plant's son Carrick died in 1977, Jimmy Page didn't even attend the funeral. The case of Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin really highlights how difficult it can be to separate the art from the artist. Whether you love him or you hate him, there are few who have been so responsible for the development of an instrument's place in music as Jimmy Page.